Hey, so we're back. We're going to talk about EAMC, which stands for Exercise Associated Muscle Cramps. So just to give you guys a definition, a working definition, this is the involuntary painful contractions of skeletal muscle during or after exercise. It can have a sudden onset or it can actually be progressive. This is a really complex topic. There appears to be different types of cramps with different causes, and the exact causes of EAMC, they're still being researched. For those of you that have had EAMC, you know they're extremely painful. Your muscles lock up um, and really, really, really hurt. Athletes are always interested in this and how to prevent it. There's a lot of theories on what contributing factors may be: dehydration, electrolyte imbalances, altered neuromuscular control, basically that's nerve plus muscles, fatigue, or a combination of any of these factors. So, let's talk about this term heat cramps, all right? Because this is probably the term that you know, not the EAMC. So heat cramps is popular among people. It's a more commonly used term, but technically it's not correct. Heat cramps are not directly related to an elevated body temperature. They do not readily occur after heating the muscles at rest. And although extensive sweating is typical when an athlete experiences these types of cramping, this type of cramping can also occur during exercise in warm or even cool temperatures. That's why we are sort of like phasing out this term heat cramp and more readily using exercise associated muscle. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit more. So when we think about cramps, I think most of the resources that I've been reading about this have a general agreement that fatigue is related. Okay, so we want to talk about what are some causes of fatigue in terms of nutrition. All right, so underfueling we know is huge. Not having enough muscle glycogen. Also things like poor hydration, accumulation of excessive body heat, like we just talked about with heat exhaustion, okay? Sodium losses in your sweat, increased metabolites from the production of ATP, decreases in blood flow to the muscles. These are all things that are known causes of fatigue and all that have some relationship to nutrition, all right? So once fatigue sets in, we do know that these factors will set the stage for neuromuscular failure. So again, that's the nerve plus the muscles and result in a cramp. So if athletes come to me and they talk about cramping, I'm always looking into how well are they hydrating and how well are they fueling, so that we can minimize, the fatigue. All right, and that's what sports dietitians always emphasize first. All right, so here's a popular theory. All right, what we're looking at here is the motor neuron. So basically, we have our nerve plus muscles. Okay, and so there is a popular theory right now with some research behind it that the cause of EAMC is neuromuscular failure. So what they're saying is that the nerve gets hyperexcited when athletes become fatigued. And the nerve innervates the muscle, and that's what causes the muscle contractions and the cramping to occur. Right. So they've been able to do this in laboratory settings with electrical stimulation on small muscles, particularly in the foot. So, how to tie this together with nutrition. All right. So, maybe I'm sure you all have heard stories about pickle juice and mustard and capsaicin, how athletes have maybe tried using this when they've had a muscle cramp and their cramping was relieved. All right. So, there might be a little bit of, truth to this, right? So, some foods, spicy, pungent foods, stimulate these sensory nerves in your mouth and in your throat and in your esophagus, all right? And these sensory nerves communicate with the nerves in your brain and spine, all right? And what happens is if you have a cramp going on, and you ingest something like the pickle juice or the mustard, okay, or capsaicin, um, through these sensory nerves in your, again, oral cavity, they're communicating with the nerves in the spine to calm down, so to speak, and lessen the severity of the cramp. So there's some research to support that. As a result, there's a new category of supplements out there, and one in particular is called Hot Shot. And if we were in class, we would be trying this. I actually have, I haven't bought it. It's at school, and I let you all try a little bit of it. And every semester we try it, the athletes are like, oh, or the students are like, oh my gosh, there's no way I could drink this whole thing because it's really, really pungent. But they do have some research behind it that it may actually help lessen cramping. Um, and so hot shot is basically made of lime juice, cinnamon, ginger, and capsaicin. Right. So a little bit about that. Maybe you guys have heard of or seen advertisements for it. Okay, so we're going to end exercise associated muscle cramping, and when we come back in the next video, we're going to talk about sweat and fluids.